of Iraqi George Bush's war and putting bullets in the head of Iraqi children. And meanwhile, Keith, I pulled out something, but I pulled out an old thing I wrote, absolutely excoriating Bush and excoriating what was happening over there. And I threw that into my article that I wrote and said, well, no, I didn't. Here's something I did right. And then it was something about I can hear the angels weeping at the soldiers, our soldiers being killed to die for a lie, and the children being killed. In other words, that was the real thing that I believed. And he had put out this horrible, she has no compunction about putting bullets in the head of an Iraqi children. I mean, these people are scumbags. Can I say that on the air?
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Because, and I'm complicit with being a phony of sorts. Kaminsky, when I was working at St. Leo University Library, which Kaminsky knew, because Kaminsky lives, here on the West Coast. I get this call, come to the front desk, there's some people that want to see you. I'm like, okay, would this be like police? But anyway, I came out, and it was Kaminsky and his latest bitch, excuse me. And it was kind of nice, and we hugged, and I mean, I was a phony.
This is recently?
No, this would have to be probably no later than 2005, early 2005.
Okay.
Okay. So he was up the way, so we, and we walked around the grounds, and the woman had some accents. I don't know who she was, but she had a Mercedes-Benz she was driving.
Mm-hmm.
And, we walked around and stuff, and then she made some comment to me. I don't know what it was. I mean, I guess she thought I was a Catholic or something because I was working there. And then I went into my whole screed about the Vatican,
Mm-hmm.
and the Jesuits and all this. And she looked at me like I had 5 heads. And I looked at Kaminsky, who was getting ready to drive because she let him drive her Mercedes-Benz. And I looked at John. I go, "Am I gonna have to read about this in one of your things?" And he goes, "I don't know." And he just jumped in the car and left. But what cracks me up is that we have a prime Jew basher, but can we just look back at one thing? His name is Kaminsky. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry, that doesn't mean he's Jewish, but I mean, you know what? There's a lot of spellings of that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But, I just don't understand the whole thing. And he did some good work. I think you'll agree, Barbara. But then at a certain point, he was just putting crap out for pure attention. That's what
it looked like to me. But to me, frankly, he seems like a very nasty character. Because anybody, when I addressed his work, I addressed it because of the ideology and principle. That's what I always do. I don't go out and say, oh, so-and-so's your mama or something. I'm not like that. I address issues. And he came back and slammed me with these completely false charges. And that, to me, is just nastiness.
Well, here's another example. I'll tell you what. I interviewed Kaminsky a couple of times. And one time it was clear he was making his lunch. While he was talking to me, I'm like, geez, John, thanks for giving us the time. You know what I mean? And I thought that sucked, and that was fine, and I let that go. He never called me, but he called me one time, and it had to be in late 2004 or early 2005, and I was stunned. He called me on my cell phone, and I remember this because I was living, my Lady Biz and I were living in a lake house only for a year, so I know that this window is true. And I was stunned. He called me at 5 o'clock Eastern, and of course he lives down just below Tampa Bay, in Venice or some place down there. And he was talking about, well, what do you think about Wing TV whacking Jones like they do? And Victor and Lisa at that time were heavily into whacking Jones. And I said, well, you know what? I tell you, John, I had written an email to him going, look, you whaled him enough. But my only thought was, if you stay there too long, your critics will say, well, what are you doing lately? And I said, that's it. He deserved what he got, but go on to doing the stuff you do. Well, so John was like, oh, okay. And I'm going well, what's going on? He goes, nothing. He doesn't call me for, like I said, he never called me before. He never called me later. So here's what went down. He hangs up, fine. The next day, on his site, he put out a piece which really had nothing to do with Victor and Lisa and Wing TV. And I'm telling you, and then parenthetically, in my estimation, he whacked Victor and Lisa. And I'm saying, and I called him immediately. I'm going, you know what? That piece of crap never called me except yesterday afternoon.
Why do you think he did that?
Well, because he was fishing. He wanted stuff on them, and I had no problem with them, except that I told, and I told them too.
You just gave them an opinion, that's all.
Yeah, and I said, look, I've told them also, whack Jones, you did your job, but get out of there because people will say, you're making a living off this or whatever. You're camping out on Jones, and what are you giving to us lately? And I look at the same thing for myself because I whack the Patriot hosts a lot. But if I don't give people decent information, it's like, well, what's your purpose? So what happened was, I called Lisa and Victor, and I said, man, he called me yesterday, and he was fishing. That's what that son of a bitch was doing, and that sucks. So I said,
yeah, no, that's dishonorable. That's
of course
very
it is, but
dishonorable.
that's him.
And I can tell. Let me just mention something here, because I don't know Lisa and Victor, but as far as just Lisa is concerned, because I've read her stuff, when they had the website up.
They had good stuff.
And I really, the feeling that I picked up about Lisa was from my heart, in the spirit I picked up, that she is a very, very truthful person. In other words, she really cares about things, and I thought that just from reading all the stuff that she wrote, I was horrified and I was disgusted when those idiots came after her. There are another ones. I don't even know these people. They were from that Revere radio stations, Sunny Crack or something. Oh. These porno mongers, and they put out all kinds of lies.
All these little
Lisa.
white shit wannabes who want to be black.
Unbelievable. And, white men. Nothing more pathetic. White men pretending to be some kind of a pimp, and
and gangsters, but they have to be back in their house before 11 because mom and dad will be pissed.
putting down women, everything to demean women. It was horrible what they did to her. And again, it comes back to, why do they do things like that? Because a person has the courage to come out with the truth about something. That's you get attacked by these kind of low life people.
But let's look at this also, and you might not have insight to this, but I do. And I mean, like, again, if you got any problems with that out there, come to me. And that is these pieces of excrement, especially from Florida. I think most of those were from the Tampa area. Which
Are
I'm
they?
like, oh God, yeah.
It was appalling, absolutely.
Oh no, they were horrible. But the thing is, like I said, they're like white kids who want to be black people and want to have bling and all this other crap. But like I said, they have curfews and they have to be home at night. But the thing, but the point was, who sicked them on them or who allowed it to happen was Jack Blood. And Jack Blood is a piece of crap. And they called out Jack Blood when he was like Clayton and scammed a couple of people. And let me just say this so everybody understands what the deal is. Jack Blood and I had an exchange program going on with guests. And I had that with almost everybody with GCN. That would include Dave and Joyce, no, of course not Alex. Alex was untouchable.
You're not talking about you're talking about the talk show hosts at GCN.
Yeah, in other words, at that time,
some of them.
we had a good relationship, and they didn't think that I was any kind of threat, and I'm sure I wasn't. But the thing was, I would have guests, and I would shoot them to them. I would get guests from them, and everything was fine. It was working beautifully.
Yeah.
And with Jack, what happened was, Jack was a little bit concerned about his relationship with Statmiller. And he was saying, I think I got to go. It's not working out with Statmiller. I'm going to go up to GCN. Now, understand those words, up to GCN. And I said, Jack, are you telling me you're going to go to Minnesota? And he goes, yeah. I'm going, well, now, here's where I'm going to tell, tales out of class. And that is, at that time, my contact left GCN saying, I don't like the way